This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and today I have Chris Timbers with me. And Chris, I have to tell you, the bio I have on you just goes on and on and on. Like you're
Uh,
a very
I'm,
involved young man.
yeah, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it definitely tells a story.
So
Uh,
you decided at a very young age that you wanted to be involved with music, correct?
yeah, music was just very prevalent in our house as a kid. My father sings. My mom was in the church choir. My dad was in a gospel band. It wasn't just all spiritual music. I mean, there was always some sort of, my dad's a big Motown person, so that was always playing in the house when we were kids. Um, but yeah, my dad being in a band, a gospel band when I was a kid was a big part of it because I used to go, to their rehearsals and, to their gigs, and they would travel around to different places and events and play. So that's where I really got, I was like, man, this is cool. I want to do this.
Well, and luckily you had two parents who understood the concept of wanting to be a musician. Uh,
Yeah, to some respect. They understood that, you know, it wasn't later on into life that they're like, okay, you're really gonna make this your profession? What about insurance? You know how parents are always going to be parents, but you know,
Absolutely.
they eventually realized that it's just something that I was going to do. So, and then once they realized that I wasn't budging, then they started supporting me in this.
Well, that's what parents are supposed to do. Uh,
Absolutely.
and I totally get it. I remember my brother, he went to college to become an architect.
Yeah.
And the last week of of schooling and finals, he packed up his Volkswagen Bug,
Right.
and this is back in the 60s. And he drove cross country to California
Right.
and then told my parents, um, I don't want to be an architect anymore. Uh, Screw the money that you paid out, and I'm going to, get into the music business.
Right.
Parents like, seriously? Uh, no, I think you should come home. And he didn't. And he made it as well. But it's a hard business to
Yeah.
make it in.
Absolutely. And I was in college. I was in training to be a a VT, veterinary technologist, whatever,
Sure.
and probably go into veterinary medicine after that. But I started playing music when I was in college. I got into this kind of group who was there were a lot of musicians. It was actually my fraternity. So TBI at Fairmont is a local fraternity. It's only there, but a lot of those guys in my fraternity were musicians or their friends were musicians, and so it was just kind of crazy how that worked out. So I started playing a little bit while I was in college. Actually, then I realized, I was like, what am I doing here? Because this is what I want to be doing. I was like, and I was 2 years into college by then. So, I didn't want to waste any more of their money. And, my parents, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing there, but I'm going to stay home and do this.
Well, I think you made a wise decision. For
Thank
all of
you.
our listeners, you'll notice in the show notes that we have the website that you can go out and find all of Chris's music and also a lot of the dates that you're going to be out there playing too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all on my website. We're always keeping our social media pages up to date. Our publicist and everything's always, putting stuff out there. Chris Timmer's fan page on Facebook, and of course all the Instagram, all the socials you can find Chris.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, how did you handle the last year? I mean, come on, it was pandemic and y-
Listen, this last year has been tough. I'm and the pandemic's only a piece of it. Um the pandemic, of course, last okay, at the beginning of the pandemic, it hit me a little bit as far as live performances go. A lot of them got cut and canceled. But that was in March. So by April, June, April, May, all the restaurants and vineyards and stuff like that out here in Virginia, um, were opening back up. They were opening up. They were doing the social distancing thing outside. So they're moving their stages and their live music outside. So I got really busy, actually. I was playing all the time. Then around October, November, things started to shut down a little bit again. And then, yeah, it was around then. And then, so it slowed down. And then there are a few club dates that we were doing. And then it was St. Patty's Day. I got COVID.
No, wow.
So yeah, so that shut my band down for a little bit, until I got over that. And it's 2 or 3 of my bandmates had COVID. So I had it, my manager had it, my sax player had it, my bass player had it. The only one that didn't get it was the drummer.
Well,
because he's always behind us. I don't know.
well, we're glad that you've all recovered from it. You know, it's changed so many of us this past year.
I'll tell you what the positive part of it though is, I mean, my whole recording has been done at home, you know, whereas I've always gone to studios and paid, you know, a substantial amount of money to record or, you know, for the musicians, depending on if I had a band or not, session musicians, and that's costly. Now I've learned to do everything at home, and I'm, you know, not paying anything. All my promoting now, you know, which is a better place to put it, as far as I'm concerned, because the stuff that we're recording from home sounds great, you know. So
well, and recording has changed over the decades, as we all know. I mean, there once was a time, like I mentioned, my brother's in the industry, he's a producer, and I would go into his studio and soundboards galore. Okay. And even though there are still some people producing that way, now a lot of the time he has even less than what I have here doing this podcast. So it's an exciting time when you can have more control over your music.
Absolutely. And just learning the whole process. You know, I've had, you know, Logic and some of these programs and my interface before, and it just sat there, you know, and I was intimidated a little bit by it. But when the pandemic hit, it forced me kind of to get in here. Okay, how am I going to release the album? You can't go to a studio, you know, so figured it out, and it worked.
So you have something new coming out. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so I'll let you know more about my story as we go into this.
Okay.
Yeah, we're releasing. We just released a single, "Wake Me Up." Okay, the week we're releasing the single, I'm heading home from rehearsal, and a guy runs a red light. He's turning and hits me head on, and I mean, like a real bad car accident. I was whiplash and cracked sternum, and my finger was cut off. They had to sew it back on. So yeah, it's like that. And as we're about to, you know, go full force into releasing this single, you know, so we want to be out there playing, and it's like, it's crazy. And I'm, you know, this guy ran a red light. I don't know if he was drinking, whatever, but he hit me. So that set me back. And I honestly, I'm lucky to be here, but you know, and be back to playing so soon, because I am back out there playing. Still have a little bit of pain in my hand and sternum, but you know, I got to get to work, and you know, we're releasing new music. So yeah, so it's just been an interesting year to say the least, but yeah, so Wake Me Up is out. We'll be releasing another one here in a couple of weeks, and then our album in August.
So when you sit down to write, are you one of these musicians that I'm sitting down to write and I'm going to write it, I'm going to finish it, and then I'm going to produce it? Or are you one that says, you know what, if it's not quite there, I'm just going to put it away and come back to it later?
Yeah. Me, I normally sit down and write it front to back. I mean, yeah, because if I'm feeling inspired, it's done. I'm 10 minutes. I have a song, maybe two or three in an hour. It's hard for me to. I've done it, come back to songs, but that's harder for me. You know, I like to do it front to back, music, lyrics, everything, and then I'll send the idea to my bass player Mike Eccles, who also co-produces the stuff with me, and then we'll work on it. But yeah, you just normally boom, front to back, I'm done.
I mean, and to me, that's amazing.
uh,
You know, in some ways it shouldn't be, because I'm a blogger and I sit down and I go from beginning to end, and whatever it is, it
right,
is.
right,
But when it comes to music, and there are so many people out there who are writing who have told me, oh no, I probably never finish it right away. I put it away, I come
right,
back to it, and it changes in form.
right. See, I'll do that with musical ideas. Like if I have my phone and just something comes to my head and I'm sitting there with my guitar, I'll record something musical. Maybe like lyrics, I might hum a melody or something like that. But yeah, and then I'll come back to it and say, okay, let's take this idea and turn it into a song. But if I'm writing a song and I'm sitting down and I've been inspired to do it, I'm writing it front to back. Yeah.
Got it. So tell me about the other guys in the band. How long have y'all been together?
Oh, this band. See, when I released my first album, solo album, it was all session guys pretty much, except my bass player Mike Eccles. I've known him for 20 years. We've played music a lot together in those past 20 years. Then we have Eli Gonzalez on sax. He's in the Army band, so he's active military, and also plays in a band called Crowded Streets, uh, who tours pretty regionally, I guess. They're a Dave
Okay.
Matthews cover band. He's played with them for a while, but now he's with me mostly. Paul Dudley on drums. He's been with me about 3 years. Who else is in there? Oh, my guitar, Petey Thomas, lead guitarist, and I've known him for about 20 years as well. So we all have a pretty extensive musical history together. Yeah.
And when you mentioned before session musicians, many of us, um, you know, I obviously know about them, but so many people don't realize that sometimes when you sit down to record, you are bringing in musicians just
Right.
for that recording. Um,
Absolutely.
so, how do you find these musicians to make sure that um, the way they interpret the music is going to be the way you foresee it going?
Yeah. Um, I've been playing around here for a long time. So in the Virginia, Maryland, DC, Baltimore, I know a lot of musicians. I mean, from Gary Granger on bass to, Sonny Petrosky, Mike Eccles, to Matt Essione on guitars, just a lot of real top-notch players. So, and I have Mike Eccles, my bass player, who's has a lot of contacts. So, like with that album, it's just, we just sat down like, okay, let's get this person, and got some of the top guys in the area to play on it. So, it's, and when they sink their teeth into it, trust me, you're going to get what you want.
Well, and this just shows the camaraderie in the business.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I love hearing that. I have a very close connection to Cafe Lena in upstate New York. And the musicians up there, they're all helping each other out.
right.
Maybe
Yeah,
somebody get sick and they need somebody to fill in. And
right.
it's like, no big deal. They do it. They support each other's
Yeah,
writing and performing. And yet, in so much of our daily life, we don't see that kind of camaraderie.
exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's my latest single. That's a lot of what that song's about. If you listen to the lyrics, I mean, it speaks that highly on the separation in the world today. And yeah, I wish it was like that. In all of our walks of life. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not.
Well, I'm glad it is in the music industry
Right.
because it's unbelievable the difference in production sounds that you can get as well. You just bring
Oh
in
yeah,
this keyboard
absolutely.
artist for this, and it's like, wow, a totally
Yeah,
different
yeah.
sound.
Everyone puts a different flavor on it.
So I was looking at your website earlier, and it looks like you are almost fully booked till the end of the year with
Yeah, yeah.
wow.
We're getting close. I mean, and with these releases, we plan to start touring in the spring. So we're kind of geared up for that. Get this music out there, and we have some music. I mean, with this pandemic, we probably have 30 songs tracked now, and I'm releasing songs, just short albums, 7 songs. Uh, and I have the whole thing of why I'm doing that. But there's going to be 7 songs for 7 releases. So
How wonderful.
yeah,
So one big question. We know that um, real records are coming back into the
yeah,
industry. So do you plan on having your music on an actual record?
yeah. I was just talking to someone about that the other day, and I think so. I mean, it's almost I'd rather do it on vinyl now than an actual CD.
Yeah,
Because people are buying vinyl. They're not on CDs, they're streaming, but vinyl is cool now. You know,
absolutely.
so and just remember that I remember looking at my parents' albums and when I my first record player when I was a kid and getting albums, and they're cool because you got your big thing here, you can open them up and see pictures and read about them and everything. So yeah, I think I'll do
Well,
that.
and I have to tell you, my husband just the other day he said to me, I can't believe when we moved 14 years ago that you made me get rid of my record collection. And it was gathering dust and we didn't have a record player anymore. Okay.
Right, right.
And 14 years ago, record players were hard to find. And
Yeah.
so I said, you know what? You can, you can find it on a CD. You can find it somewhere else. Let's get rid of them. And
uh,
now I'm so sorry that we did.
yeah,
But
yeah.
we'll just have to start collecting
And-
vinyl all over again. I love it.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a cool thing. We'll see it, how long it lasts, but right now it seems to be a pretty hot thing. I saw just Taylor Swift released an album
Right.
long ago on vinyl. Yeah.
Well, I think it's sort of important that we can have something tangible.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, for you, the artist, because is I can say it over and over again to our listeners, pay for the streaming, services so that the artists get paid for their hard work. But
Right.
we know so many people aren't. Okay. And there are ways to get around that. But when you actually go to the store and you pick up vinyl or a CD, it
Right.
belongs to you and you can
Yeah.
play it over and over again.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 So yeah, I like the idea, and I like that it's a hot thing now. So yeah, make that
So,
happen.
so do you have one favorite song on this new album that
uh,
means a lot to you?
I think the single I released is definitely one of them. Um, Wake Me Up, because it all started with when I saw the news on George Floyd, and so if you listen to the chorus of that song, you'll hear me saying, "So I can finally breathe," or whatever. That's part of what I gathered from watching that. But then as I started to write the song, it just wasn't about that incident. It was about everything that's happening in the world today. So, I mean, I think that's probably one of my favorites because that incident led to me kind of realizing what was happening all around me, you know, and it opened my eyes to it. So, yeah, so that's lyrically and musically probably one of my favorites that were released. That and there's a song called "Don't Mind the Rain," and that's what we're naming the album, and that's a fun one too. That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Well, I love the fact that, and sadly, somebody had to die horrifically, but
Right.
I am so impressed how many of us have actually changed how we do things today, that we
Right.
realize that change has to happen. Change has not happened over the years like we thought. Um,
Right.
I grew up in the 60s and I remember the race riots and thinking, oh, it's over. Everything is good. Um, and little did I realize until even last year
Yeah.
how it wasn't so good. And so music that can help remind us, make it beautiful, but still remind us that, you know what, it's time to open our eyes and move forward.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know.
So you are basically going to be touring in Virginia this season.
Yeah. Through the summer, Virginia, DC, Maryland area. You know, I won't venture too far. I mean, everything's just starting to open back
Right.
up. So yeah, I'll just keep it close to home base until next spring. Yeah.
Well, we hope that you'll get to Cleveland. I mean, the land of rock and roll and
I
so much more.
Right.
And we have numerous venues,
Yeah.
large and small, and we'd love
Right.
to see you in person.
Yeah, we'll make it there. We'll definitely
Okay.
let you
Well,
know when we do.
absolutely. We certainly appreciate it. Best of luck with everything. I hope you continue to heal well and
Thank
that
you very much.
everything gets better because
Yeah.
we're on to better times again. So
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's great talking to you.
thank you. Say hi to all the band members, okay?
Yeah, I will.
Have a good day now.
All right,
Bye-bye.
you too. Bye-bye.